Hi my wonderful people, make sourdough bread with me this morning. So this is my starter. I fed my starter last night. My starter is currently 26 days old. It rose a lot and then it dropped a bit, but that's perfectly fine. It's active and it's ready to be used. I'm going to pour my water. I'm using warm water, slightly hot, but it's on the warm side I think. Because my house is quite cold, so I'm going to use warm water to activate everything. I'm going to put my starter inside my water, and you're going to see here that my starter is floating, which is exactly what you want. It's light, it's airy. I am not measuring my starter because I'm quite used to kind of going off by eye now. It's definitely around 2 cups, which is what you want to be using for this amount of bread that I'm making, but I've eyed the 2 cups. Go ahead and weigh it. If you're a beginner, this will make things a lot easier for you. Now I'm going to give this a really good stir. It's going to get really milky. We want to incorporate everything. Now what you're looking for is for your starter to be around 90% dissolved into your water. It doesn't need to be completely dissolved, but you want majority of it to be dissolved. So this looks pretty good to me now. I'm going to go in and add my flour in a bit. I am using spelt flour. Remember that depending on the type of flour that you use, you may need to adjust the amount of flour that you are using. You may need to add a bit more or a little less. It all depends. Now go ahead and add your salt. I'm using fine sea salt. Now I'm going to add my flour. Please don't forget to check the description down below for the full recipe. Now go ahead and combine everything. Just get everything together really well. The dough is not going to look perfect. It's not supposed to look perfect just yet. So just bring everything together like I'm doing here. You want your dough to be, it's going to look slightly shaggy. That's what you want. Now this is what you're looking for. If you're struggling using your hands, do use a spatula, and you can wet the spatula and continue to fold your dough. It's going to make it easier for the dough to not stick on your spatula. You can also use your hands and then wet your hands, but I just find it much easier to use the spatula when I'm doing this part. Now feed my starter with me. Of course I have to feed my starter again, as I just used majority of my starter for this bread. So I'm going to put my flour and my water in and give it a really good stir, and it's going right back into the cupboard. Your starter should look like a thick pancake batter. You don't want it too watery or too thick. It should be like a slightly thick pancake batter, just like this. Now if you want to know how to make a sourdough starter, please let me know down below in the comments and I will make a video on this. Now we're going to do fold 1. It's been resting for about an hour now, and I'm going to use a spatula. Like I said earlier, I prefer using the spatula than my hands. Sometimes I do use my hands, but use whatever you feel comfortable with. Just make sure you've got water on hand so you can dip your spatula in. Now we're just going to stretch and fold our dough. I'm going to bring it over like this into the middle. As this is a lot of dough, this is a real arm workout, so be prepared. Now, this dough has quite a while to go. It still needs to ferment a bit more. It's going to become more stretchy. It's going to become a lot more airier and much easier to work with. Continue to fold, and then we're going to cover this back and let it rest for another 30 minutes. And you're going to repeat this stretch and fold step 3 times or twice. I generally sometimes do it 3 times. It depends on how busy I am during my day. I think I should have used a much bigger bowl from the beginning because this dough is going to rise a lot more. So here I am putting it in a much bigger bowl so that it has space to rise. Now this is fold 2, and we're going to do the same process as we did with fold 1. Wow, that's insane. Look how much this doubled. I love it. I'm loving it. So I'm going to put this on my floured countertop now, and I'm going to cut this into 3 pieces because I only have 1 large loaf tin and 1 small one. So I'm going to roll the other dough into my Dutch pan. So go ahead and watch and follow my step for how I roll them out to put them into my buttered and floured loaf tin. I've buttered and floured my loaf tin. I'm just using the same spelt flour. You can use whichever flour you're using. Flour your tin with that same flour, or go ahead and use baking paper if you want to use baking paper, but I'm not using that. I just feel like it's a waste, so I'm just going to butter my pan and flour it, which I've already done. Make sure to pinch the end of your dough so it just does not come apart when it's baking. Make sure to pinch it properly so everything is well tucked in. So as you can see, I've got 3 doughs here. I am supposed to have 3 breads, but I started to crave cinnamon rolls, so I decided to use that dough that I've put in my cast iron pot to make cinnamon rolls. So that did not turn into bread. I decided to use it for my cinnamon rolls, and it was really nice. Now I'm going to cover all 3 doughs with a damp tea towel. Make sure the towel is very damp so it does not stick to your dough. And here are my 2 loaf breads that have been proofing for about 4 hours. They've doubled in size and they are ready to be baked. Now I'm going to slightly just flour the top because I want that floured texture on the top of my bread for this loaf. You don't need to do that, and you can go ahead and score it, but you don't have to do that either. This is my bread after it's been baked. It's looking so good. I love it. I love it. Now, I left my bread to cool down overnight, but you can go ahead and cut it after about 20 minutes if you want. But I decided to cut mine the next day because I was really tired last night. So here is my bread the next morning. Oh my goodness, look at this bread. It is so yummy. I'm about to slap some butter on this. Yes. So my lovelies, I've got some images coming up of all the sourdough breads that I've previously baked. So go ahead and enjoy these images, and I really hope you liked this video. I hope it was easy to understand. If you have any questions, please don't be afraid. Comment down below, let me know what you think.